Boruto Uzumaki has gone through a journey being one of the most divisive Naruto characters to being widely accepted as one of the best. Today we're going to talk about lore accurate Boruto. I've done a Sasuke video. Anybody who waited on that video, I hear you loud and clear. I know exactly who you guys want next. Let's waste no time and get straight into the video. Boruto, based on what we've seen in the series thus far, is without a doubt the most gifted ninja to grace the shinobi world. This, ironically, playing into his character as his immediate trial and first real arc is for Boruto to overcome not only Naruto's neglect, but also how things come too easily to Boruto, and a result of that is that he tends to take shortcuts. Before I touch on Boruto or any of his abilities, it's very important to note that he actually is gifted academically. He got 100 on the Academy entrance exam, which was actually meant to be a test about intel gathering, like the Chunin exams one, but the general notion or idea of this test flew over Boruto's head just like Naruto, and he actually ended up getting 100 on the questions that were meant to be impossibly hard to pull off in terms of pure intelligence. You then stack his ninjutsu and his abilities after this fact, and you essentially have someone who is gifted in both aspects. A good way to rationalize it is Minato was the best academically in the Academy entrance exam, Itachi was the best practically in the Forest of Death, but Boruto is the best of both worlds. Homing in on this, before even entering the Academy or having a substantial amount of formal ninja training, Boruto is capable of using the multi-shadow clone technique, being able to create 3 shadow clones. This being relevant since the multi-shadow clone technique is an A-rank jutsu that is described as a jutsu that no ninja below the Hokage can use, save for a limited few. Ninja were ironically cutting up their lifespan by splitting up their chakra, which is the reason that Hashirama actually sealed this jutsu. Boruto, again, really is just capable of this off of just viewing it likely from Naruto himself, which plays into characters like Kakashi, giving Boruto direct praise for having the skill level of a Chunin even before becoming a Genin. Keep in mind that Chunin, by Leaf standards, is actually pretty high, as Sasuke had only really reached that level after his match against Gaara in the Chunin exams, where he showcased abilities like Lee's Taijutsu or Chidori itself, an A-rank technique, meaning Boruto is already coming out the gate at an extremely high level. Keep in mind as well that Gaara in Fanbook 1 is also noted to be above most Chunin and Jonin. This does not mean he's above Leaf Jonin, but just Jonin in general, meaning you can actually make a case that even pre-Genin Boruto would actually be able to box up some Jonin off of this metric. He's just that cracked in the lore of the verse itself, which is in line with notions that Mitsuki himself makes in the Boruto the movie one-shot before the movie was released, where he remarks Sarada and Boruto are both born as natural Genin elite. And in the anime-only arc where Boruto goes to master his high compression Rasengan, Kakashi actually goes as far as to remark that Boruto inherited Lord Fort's genius. This is especially impressive if you consider the Minato one-shot, where we see that 2 hair whorls are the sign of a genius, with Minato being noted to have an incredible grasp of ninjutsu. This type of praise directly coincides with earlier statements Jiraiya makes about Minato, noting that everybody just paled in comparison to the 4th. As a shinobi, his capacity was unparalleled, a true one of a kind. He was overflowing with talent for jutsu and intelligence. While this is an anime-only line, I do feel as if Boruto's manga jutsu development feats do also lean into this idea that he would be comparable to outright surpassing Minato in terms of his prodigious nature. Boruto being able to master or learn the most difficult jutsu is something that is consistent with this character even into Twin Blue Vortex, with this extending to every facet of his arsenal, ranging from the basics in chakra control and the tree climbing exercise, which he directly notes were super easy for him, to learning the Rasengan from Konohamaru in a surprisingly short time period, this being the stipulation for Sasuke actually training Boruto. And instead of just mastering the Rasengan, Boruto actually applied lightning release to the Rasengan, creating a vanishing Rasengan, this being something he did more unconsciously but was still able to perform. This feat in particular is more impressive when you consider characters like Kakashi Hatake and Minato Namikaze, 2 once-in-a-lifetime prodigies. Both failed to apply an external nature to the Rasengan's change in form, yet Boruto did so even without realizing it. It's also ignoring the fact that Boruto mastered the Rasengan itself, this being an A-rank jutsu, which is a step above Jonin level jutsu and teeters into forbidden jutsu as a category, meaning that Boruto, even as a Genin, just has 2 forbidden jutsu in his back pocket, with him actually building upon these fundamental aspects of his arsenal. While Boruto doesn't have the same overwhelming chakra reserves as Naruto, evidence with him only really being able to create 3 clones compared to Naruto in part 1, who was able to create dozens, this being a similar case with the Odama Rasengan, his Rasengan coming out to a similar size to Kakashi's, who just notes that's kind of his limit in terms of of what he's able to output chakra wise. It's obviously not relating to potency of a technique or AP necessarily, more so the user expanding the range of the Rasengan itself, with Boruto not really diving into this territory without his karma mark. So in terms of chakra supply at least, Naruto obviously stands above. But not having as much chakra as Naruto is not the same thing as not having a ton of chakra in the verse itself or still being a powerhouse in this category. Chakra supply just isn't everything in the context of Naruto. There's plenty of examples of characters who have just as potent chakra being able to rival characters with larger amounts. Boruto having ridiculous chakra supplies is pretty consistent, not only with his skill level as noted by other characters like Kakashi, but also the jutsu he's actually able to perform, as if he didn't have the chakra ability to perform A rank jutsu, such as the shadow clone technique where he can divide his chakra up, or the Rasengan itself, these abilities just wouldn't work, meaning he should have a decent amount to be able to use them in a consistent basis in combat. I do want to home in, I think the most important point to this whole discussion, however, is that Sasuke actually believes that full potential Boruto with no Otsutsuki DNA was actually capable of surpassing Sage of Six Paths Naruto, at least if Sasuke is the one training him. So I do not believe any of the statements made about him are hyperbolic or just vague estimations of Boruto, as it's directly noted in the manga by Sasuke himself. I do want to home in for a second on what Boruto is capable of before I extrapolate that for his placement or what he's capable of in the lore of the verse itself. What he lacks in just being a chakra merchant, he makes up for in sheer versatility, having access to Raiton, Futon, and Soiton, or lightning release, wind release, and water release. Boruto actually having all three, or access to all three before the Chunin exams, which is just impressive when you consider that once you hit Jonin rank, the baseline is just two natures. Super consistent with all the information in this video thus far. In character, Boruto also opts to amplify his weaponry with lightning release or a speed or power increase. What really separates Boruto from other ninja, and something we're going to see as he grows older, is how he compounds what he learns. For example, at least via the anime, although Boruto can 100% do this in the manga if he so choose, is his Boruto stream, which he combines with his kunai enhancement to accelerate himself and his movements. Boruto would even stack this with multiple shadow clones, sending each subsequent Boruto forward. But like I mentioned earlier, where Boruto stands out is not only in how quickly he can pick up techniques, but how he's able to adapt those techniques to his own arsenal, pretty much breaking the verse in what he's capable of doing, such as we see with Boruto after the Omnipotence incident, where in just a year he was capable of mastering almost all of the moves and methods Sasuke himself knows, being regarded as a genius by Sasuke himself. Keep in mind, we just mentioned earlier that if Sasuke was the one teaching Boruto, he would be able to eclipse Naruto. However, the fact that Sasuke in just a year isn't really able to teach Boruto much more, this being post Boruto becoming a 100% Otsutsuki, does indicate that his potential did shift, or it kind of expedited the process for how quickly he was able to learn, as it was already absurd, but now it's just shot him up an entire tier to where even Sasuke himself doesn't have anything else to really teach him, to the point he just tells Boruto that everything's in your head, all of the theoretical, meaning he should just be able to do it by himself. So Boruto becoming a full Otsutsuki, at least the way it's presented, did shift how quickly he was able to pick up techniques, and did shift his upper clippings on how strong he would become. This is in line with Boruto eventually mastering his own variation of the Flying ThunderGod technique, although not actually the same technique. Instead of just using the same Flying ThunderGod technique as Minato, through his desire to control space-time ninjutsu, he devised his own copycat FTG that produces near-identical results. Boruto did this by marking objects, specifically metal objects, that are more suitable for chakra marking, this ranging from blades to shuriken, kunai, and even decorations or utensils. Any object can really be used for displacement as a way to jump freely and instantly to wherever he wanted. But this only really operates as a version of the technique that operates within Boruto's visual range, as the translocation would be easier and more accurate the closer the shuriken in question is to Boruto. As let's say he's the same distance between two marked shuriken, he has no idea which one he'll arrive at. To bypass this problem, Boruto used symbols, that being metal objects with distinct shapes, and through visualizing that symbol, it would make it possible to accurately transport to your intended coordinates even if they were far away, as the accuracy lessened as Boruto couldn't sense the objects quite as well. Before Kashin Koji's intervention, it took Boruto 6 years to develop this technique, which is still pretty ridiculous as this was done through trial and error alone, meaning despite the fact that Boruto acquired theories and knowledge that took him in the future many years to cobble together, he still inevitably would have reached that conclusion. So we're presented with the idea that in lore of Boruto, if Boruto can't master a technique, he will be able to create his own variation for it to be viable for him. This is showcased not only with the FTG example, but him utilizing Purple Lightning over Chidori, as he lacks the visual acuity of the Sharingan to fully utilize Chidori, and opted for the counterpart created by Kakashi. This being the case for S rank jutsu and up, meaning nothing in the verse itself should really be outside for Boruto to either master or create some equivalent to. This obviously existing outside Kekkei Genkai itself. This should hardly be surprising, as even earlier on, applying a nature to the Rasengan was considered to be in S rank territory and beyond what Kakashi's Sharingan could copy. Keep in mind, Kakashi's Sharingan can copy up to A rank jutsu, and Boruto was already doing this even as a genin, so it really shouldn't be surprising that he's just devising ways to master S rank jutsu for his own means. It's just pretty ridiculous, and his jutsu mastery capabilities just honestly break the scope of what shinobi should be capable of. The thing about Boruto is that a lot of sentiments about, him being a genius or how quickly he's able to master jutsu are all done before Momoshiki actually resuscitated Boruto using part of the karma. The karma mark is noted to contain all of Momoshiki, and 82% had already been extracted and diffused into Boruto's body. Momoshiki had to use the last 18% to recreate the cells and tissues that Boruto lost. However, rewritten or not, this was Otsutsuki data originally, meaning that 100% of the Otsutsuki data had extracted and actually been implemented into Boruto, making him 100% pure, genuine, complete Otsutsuki. So we have the most talented, or one of the most talented characters the franchise has ever seen. We just gave him a higher ceiling for the techniques he's going to be able to pull off in the future. The upper limits of this being unknown, as Boruto only recently got his karma mark back, meaning we just don't know what he's going to be capable of by the end of the series. More so, using his regular baseline as a ninja and translating that over to the Otsutsuki threshold, it should be a similar result, with him being able to perform some extraordinary jutsu development feats. Outside how Boruto himself compares and contrasts to the other characters in the series and what that means for his potential future or some of the development feats he's performed, a lore accurate Boruto is not only as gifted as Minato or just this Otsutsuki embodiment, but also does have an Otsutsuki level dojutsu in the form of the Jougan. This is an anime only dojutsu, as in the manga it's more so presented that Boruto is using the Byakugan. I know people do like to debate about this, but there's really no evidence that it's in the manga yet, so it's just kind of in anime only limbo for right now. The Jougan is actually described, at least by Urashiki, to be a troublesome eye. But why is that? What does it actually do? The Jougan showcases the ability to see the flow of chakra, even dark chakra, along with perceiving chakra pathways, that being the Tenketsu, showcased in Boruto's altercation with Nu. So it already has the abilities of the Byakugan set into it. Furthermore, the Jougan actually showcases the ability to see Otsutsuki coming out from their time-space rifts, as evidenced in the Urashiki fight, where Boruto is able to see a future sight of where the rift would open and Urashiki would emerge. This is pretty cracked as a dojutsu feat, especially in the lore of Naruto the verse, as characters like Naruto or Sasuke aren't really able to perform this sort of feat. Naruto only really able to dodge strikes from Kaguya emerging from her time-space rifts due to his reflexes alone, which Black Zetsu comments on. Even among 6 Pats tier characters, this Jougan or visual ability is actually pretty profound and does have some good counters, especially against the Otsutsuki clan. It also should offer Boruto some visual amp or perception increase, as it makes an appearance in the anime when he actually dodges one of Momoshiki's attacks or directly counters it, but this is overall a lot more nebulous and isn't really as provable or definitive, just due to how it just kind of makes an on and off appearance. One of the last points I would make, at least when discussing Boruto or how he is in lore, is that due to his heritage and who he is training under, he actually has an arsenal or a bag from a variety of different clans. In the anime, he more so has minor use of the Gentle Fist, at least based off his sparring match with Hanabi, which obviously aids him in close quarters taijutsu, with him having Uchiha style, at least in reference to his Kenjutsu, this being more so noted with his Uchiha style blade technique Hagoromo, where the blade's sharpness and durability are just amped. So in lore, Boruto's also taking in aspects from different clans and bloodline limits and just applying it to his own fighting style, which is more impressive when you just consider that he has no ocular powers like the Sharingan that are used for copying movements. This is all just kind of part of his arsenal or things that he can draw on when fighting opponents. The way I would view a lore-accurate Boruto is very similar to his Rasengan, the Uzuhiko, an attack that that theoretically has unlimited power, whose master has unlimited potential. Just based on what we've seen, there's really no limit for how strong Boruto really can become. This being amplified far further with other techniques I didn't mention, or the karma mark itself, which I also didn't really see a place to discuss in this video since it's pretty self-explanatory, and I wanted to keep the focus on Boruto himself and where he fits in the lore of Naruto the series, rather than just go over each and every one of his abilities. Like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed, maybe hype it up, I would appreciate that. Let me know who you guys want to see down below. I already kind of have the next couple characters marked in and those videos are in the works, but let me know, who knows, we'll get to it. And yeah, I'll catch you next time, bye bye.